right. Welcome back to the You Can't Fool You podcast. I'm Rockne O'Leary. I'm your host. And today we're going to be talking about something that hits close to home for me, and I'm sure is going to hit close to home for all of you, and that is friendship. Before we get into friendship, this episode is brought to you by the Vertigo Center, helping you find balance when the world won't stop spinning. If you or a loved one are struggling with dizziness, vertigo, or imbalance, please visit thevertigocenter.com to take your first step towards steady living. Big shout out to the Vertigo Center for supporting this podcast and helping to keep these conversations going. Now, if you know me, you probably heard me say this a million times, and I'm going to say it again, is that nobody has better friends than me. And I genuinely believe that. But I think if you have great friends, you should think that too. And my friends are everything to me. And today I want to dig into why friendship is so important, the role it plays in our lives, and just some stories that highlight how much it shaped me, how much my friends have shaped me as a person. And so to start with the basics is what is friendship? Friendship could have a lot of meanings to a lot of people, but to me, friendship is all about having a mutual trust and an unconditional support with somebody. It's having people in your corner, people you can go to with problems, with successes, people you can go to for a laugh and just be your authentic self around. Friends are there to be able to lift you up when you're down, celebrate wins, and of course, always be able to give you the tough love that we all need sometimes. So, friends, they help us develop emotional resilience. They help us build our social skills and I think are critical to our self-esteem. But more importantly, I think why friendship is so special is that, friendship gives us a sense of belonging. And I think that's what makes life so rewarding. It's like we're looking to be accepted, we're looking to belong to something. And I think friendship really gives us that sense of belonging. I think that's really important for kids because as a kid, I think we're just out there trying to figure out how do we fit in the world. What are we a part of? Are we accepted for who we are? And as a kid, having good friends, I think is crucial to that. And for me, growing up, I had an amazing childhood, and I know a huge part of that was because I was always surrounded by my friends. No matter what I did, I was always hanging out with my friends, whether it was school, sports, or just hanging out at each other's houses messing around. Like we just did everything together. And I remember when, I was talking to my mom about this recently, and I remember when I was getting ready to decide where I was going to go to high school. And initially I was going to go to this private all boys school because that's where my dad went. And so I was going to go there, and we did all the necessary things to get me applied and get in. And so that was the plan. But I had so many great friends from kindergarten through elementary school. By the time it was time to get ready to go, I looked at my parents. I was like, I don't want to go because all my friends were going to Garnet Valley, which was the public school. And I think that looking back on it now, I think that was one of the best decisions that, intuitively that I made for myself, but also that my parents made for me as well, was allowing me to go to Garnet Valley where all of my friends were going, as opposed to wanting me to go to the school that my dad went. Because most of my greatest memories and as in a kid and a ton of my best adult memories come from being around my friends, whether we've traveled the world, whether we're talking about money or relationships or our fears and successes, like, or just talking shit to each other and making fun of each other and just laughing until like you can't breathe anymore. My friends have always been a core base of my happiness. And I honestly just don't think that I would be the person that I am today without my group of friends. They've been like a sounding board. They've been my support system and really always a constant source of joy. And no matter how I'm feeling, what's going on, anytime I get to be around my friends, like nothing else, none of those external things kind of come in and influence. Everything's all good in the world when I'm hanging around my friends. And I think friendship gives life so much more depth. It's where we can get that emotional support, but also we get to practice being there for other people too. And so, the people you spend time with are kind of the people that, or is kind of the way you start to be. So having a solid group of friends that have the same values, the same, they look at the world in the same sort of way. I think is important to notice who you're spending your time with. And as a kid, I think spending a ton of time with your friends is great. And so if you're a kid and you have friends that are doing not so good things or getting into trouble, or then that's you're going to kind of conform to that way of being unless you start finding some new friends. And I think having a strong group of friends as a kid really helps to kind of develop the things that you're into, your decision making, how you treat other people. And so it's really important. It's really important. And it's friendship is reciprocal. It's just like any other relationship, and it takes work. You got to make those deposits into the emotional bank account, which is a concept from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I love, in terms of relationships, I love the emotional bank account framework. Right? If you start putting in deposits, that relationship's going to grow. But if you're taking too many withdrawals from that account in the relationship, then the relationship's not going to grow. And as a kid, there's so many little deposits when you're hanging out with your friends all the time. And that's how that relationship starts to grow. And so going back to what it would have been like if I didn't go to high school with my friends, that would have looked completely different, right? My friends, we've been friends probably, a lot of them since 6, 7, 8 years old. So now those deposits have been going into that account for over 20 years now, right? And so we've built up a lot of trust and support within each other. And now, if I were to had to not continue on high school with those guys, right, I would have been starting up a new account. And I'm sure those friendships would have been great as well, but I don't think it's the same. And so, I love that framework in terms of looking at your friendship is like making deposits into that bank account. It's about showing up, being present, and honestly, really just being consistent. But one of the biggest things, I guess, really as I've gotten older, and you don't get to spend as much time with your friends as after you leave high school, you graduate college, and then as life starts to happen, you get into the working world, people get into relationships or partnerships, and they start getting on with their life. Like, one of the biggest things that I've learned is that you don't have to be everything to every friend, and I think that's okay. Sometimes I feel like, if we have like our best friend, we got to be everything to that person. But I don't think that that's the case, and I think that's okay. Different friends bring different things, different qualities, different attributes to the table. And so, for some context, I would say I probably have a group of, between 8 to 12 people that I would consider really, really good friends, that no matter what, if they called me, I would do anything for them. And I think that's reciprocal too. I think if I were to call any of those same 12 people, they would do anything for me. But everybody doesn't play the same role, Everybody doesn't have, I don't go to the same person for everything. I have friends that I go to for advice about work. I have friends that I go to, um, within that group, that I talk to about family stuff or relationship stuff, or somebody that I just know that if I need it, I'm just going to call and I got a good laugh out of them, and that's going to lift my whole mood, right? And I think that's what makes it great when we all kind of get together, is everybody's got different qualities, and you love each and every one of your friends for the qualities that they bring. And I think that's what makes when we get together so much fun. So having a great connection, I think being connected is what you get with each person when you start making those deposits, and then the friendships start to evolve too. And so as we get older, right, I think, like I said, the role in each other's lives as friends changes a little bit, but the core meaning of what it means to be a friend stays the same, right? And it's about those values. It's trust and support and showing up. So you might have a friend where you go to that person for relationship advice, or you go to that person for work advice, or whatever, or that friend that you just want to hang out with for a laugh, right? All those things still fall under that. You have trust built up with each other, you have support, and you're showing up for each other. But I want to take a step back and ask some big reflective questions about friendship. And these are the things that I do think about a lot, and maybe you too. And The big one is what makes a great friend. I think, like I've mentioned, it's about that unconditional trust and love and support that you have from one another, from somebody, where you can authentically just be yourself, and you know that you're accepted, right? I think that's one. Two, I think it's somebody that you can be able to spend quality time with. I'm a big proponent for quality time with relationships, and that could mean doing anything, right? If somebody to me that's a great friend is, I could go anywhere, we can be doing anything, and we're gonna have a good time. So that leads me to probably the last one is laughter. A good friend is always, you're always going to be laughing and having a good time, and you're going to be, there's going to be just a joyous feeling around being around that person, because you're always just having fun. Another one I think about is like how my closest friendships have shaped the person that I've become. And that I think about that a lot, and I feel fortunate that a lot of my friends and I are very similar in terms of values and wanting to become the best version of ourselves, and always having a high moral standard and doing the right thing, being a good person, being a hard worker. And so I think, having those conversations and being able to talk to my friends about all of those things and how we want to develop into people and what kind of lives we want has really shaped me. If my friends weren't that way, then I might not be interested in be thinking about these kind of things that much. I might not be interested in so much personal development or being healthy and staying in shape if my friends weren't kind of into the same things. And so I think about that a lot, is how similar but also different, like we are different too, but how similar our values and our interests are kind of shape who I am as a person as well. And then I always like to reflect on what kind of friend am I, and I always try to be the best friend that I can. And I always feel like that I always try to be the best friend that I can, meaning that if I'm doing something, or putting in the time to have a phone call and a conversation, especially now as we don't see each other as much, it's very easy to kind of be like, oh, that's I'm busy, my friend's calling me, but I'm going to call them back because I'm going to get this, I'm busy doing something. And then what happens? It's easy to kick that down the road and not talk to them because you might put other things as a priority. And I try not to do that. If a friend texts me, I try to text them back right away. If somebody does call me, I do try to pick up the phone, and I'll spend a good 20, 30, sometimes an hour on the phone just talking to them. Because I think those things as we get older are ways that show you're putting those deposits into the emotional bank account and still continuing to build that conversation. If somebody calls you and then you never call them back, that's a withdrawal. Eventually that person is going to stop calling you because they never, they're back. And so, yeah, and then that kind of leads into thinking how your friendships evolve over time and how to keep them strong. And I think those touch points and quality time and being interested and help keep those friendships strong. Answering the phone and making it a point to call them back and not being short, and making sure that the friendship does stay a priority. And so, think about your own life, and as I share some of those stories, how do you view your friendships? Are you putting in the time, and are you putting in the effort to continue and maintain those friendships? And so, like any other relationship, friendship takes work, and it's not just about showing up when things are good. It's about being there during tough times. It's about listening, being patient, and putting in the effort to stay connected. I'll go back to it. I just think that the framework of the emotional bank account into a friendship is awesome, and you've got to make those regular deposits, spending quality time, touch points, asking about their lives, and genuinely being interested. And those withdrawals, if those withdrawals do, they do happen, and it's life, and that's okay. But if they consistently happen, it really does, I think, impact the quality of the friendship. And I think about all the times that maybe I was going through it, whether it was relationship stuff, career stuff, personal stuff, when life just felt like tough, and I was just stuck. I could always rally around my friends. And what I thought was awesome about the way they handle it, it's not like they don't try to fix anything, and they listen, and they don't try to tell me what to do, but like just being around them, like I mentioned earlier, it's just like everything's good in the world. So we just carry on like there's nothing going on, and that's super healing, and it just makes you feel grounded and that everything's okay during those tough times. And then the same thing when you do have great successes in your life, right? Being able to rely on them and enjoy those successes is so much more fun to be around those people that care about you and celebrate those wins together. And they all of that kind of just brings me back to center and just reminds me who I am. And most importantly, they make me laugh all the time. I always like to have a good time, and anytime I'm around my friends, I think 90% of the time we're laughing, and that's the beauty of friendship. And it's not always just about having somebody to um, go to solve your problems. It's about having fun, and a lot of fun too. So it's just about showing up and being around. So closing thoughts. That's to wrap this up. I just wanted to challenge you to think about your friendships. Are you showing up for the people in your life that are there for you, and Are you making those emotional deposits consistently? Friendship isn't just a nice to have thing. I think it's a non-negotiable, essential thing to have to living a fulfilled life. So reach out to your friends, tell them that you love them, you appreciate them, and make the time for those friendships, because trust me, it'll be worth it. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe or leave a review, share some comments, share this to a friend. Let me know what you think makes your friendship so special. Would love to hear it. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. I'm Rockne O'Leary, and this is the You Can't Fool You podcast. Thanks for listening. I'll catch up with you next episode.